Hello everybody, this is Moletrap coming at ya. Right now I'm currently living on the streets, commentating quietly into my microphone. I'm doing some top secret stuff that I can't tell you about, but it is definitely top secret. That's that's what Goober said in the IRC chat just moments ago when I someone asked me about my thesis, and I said I didn't want to say what it was about, and so he said, "Oh, it must be top secret." Anyway, I am, yes, commentating, and I'm commentating. This time I'm actually not commentating because I'm stalling. Instead of doing my thesis, I'm actually commentating because I am done with my thesis just the draft. I've still got a decent amount of work to do, but I'm very close to finish now because I wrote approximately 39 single-spaced pages in the course of the course of the last few days. About 35 of those were last night and yesterday afternoon. So, oh man. Anyway, point B, I am very relieved to be very close to done with that thing, and I have to get some feedback and redo my draft and everything. And this is Bisu versus BeSt, by the way. This is the OSL. I guess I should talk about that also. Anyway, but I should be doing some more commentating now that my thesis is almost over. About another week, it should be over. Of course, then I will probably have to get a job, and then I will have less time to do commentating. Anyway, this is Bisu versus BeSt, Game 2 of the Batoo OSL Round of 8. And it's going to be very, very cool. It's so cool to see the two names there in the player list, Bisu and BeSt, almost almost identical. The there we go, SK Telecom T1 Bisu and SK Telecom T1 BeSt. Very similar four-letter B names. And, oh, crap. Who is this? Never mind. I forgot my own trick. So this is going to be Bisu in the right-hand side of the map, and he's going to be yellow, and that means BeSt is going to be the red Protoss at the left-hand side of the map. I almost forgot my own trick there. By the way, if you're watching it, I may have mentioned this before in another commentary, but if you're ever watching Korean, you don't know who is who, if you watch at the very beginning and you can't tell the colors in the beginning, they'll show one player's nexus, and then they'll show his face, and then they'll show the other player's nexus, and then they'll show their face. So you can kind of tell that way. The other way you can tell is because, well, for instance, right now, and I'm going to have to spoil the first game of this series, if it hasn't already been spoiled by you by looking at that thing at the top. That is a really, really cool picture. I think they brought that last week, actually. That was that same picture for the first game. I remember seeing that, and someone showed that in the crowd. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh, yeah. So you can see it says P2, and it's yellow P2, and there's a 1 next to it. And that's because Bisu won the first game. And so you can tell he's the yellow player. I'm sorry, I have to apologize here. Luckily, I started the recording a couple minutes before the game actually started because I've got so much to ramble about here. But I have to apologize that last week when I was going to live cast the OSL games, I was not able to cast this one because that's kind of cool. I love combat. Nice. Shout out to combat in the crowds of the OSL. Unless they're saying that they just love combat, like, you know, the act of people battling each other. That's a possibility as well, I suppose. But anyway, yeah, I was not able to cast this game because the schedule that I read was wrong, and it turned out that the whole shindig started at 1 a.m. instead of 1:30 a.m. So I showed up at like 1:15, eating my dinner, and everyone's like, "Moletrap! The game started! OMG!" And so I had to jump in there real quick, and I barely got a stream working for Game 2, luckily. But I was not able to cast Game 1. I don't think anyone else did either, so that's why I'm just going to jump on this and cast it pretty quick. Ooh, a nice little Manor Pylon for BeSt. Ooh, counter Manor Pylon for Bisu. Manor Pylon on Manor Pylon action. We're seeing some mirror builds here, literally. I mean, both players putting their buildings in almost the same places and putting Manor Pylons down at almost exactly the same time. Both players have one Zealot out. And let's see if Bisu cancels his. Yes, both players canceling their Manor Pylons and putting down cores at exactly the same time. So this is very, very close matchup here. This almost reminds me of, you know, if you ever watch Stork and Bisu play, It is just so amazing. It is so amazing. Those are like my two of my favorite players to watch play ever, because they are just so close in skill and such high skill levels, each of them, that it's just beautiful to watch how just the tiniest little things can make such a huge difference, and their builds will be completely mirrored sometimes. They're just such a high skill level, and it's cool because neither player ever makes like an expansion in that matchup, because well, that was kind of cool. I think he floated his probe through that zealot by clicking on the minerals at the end of the line there. That was kind of a clever thing there. BeSt actually has his minerals, the behind them, kind of blocked off, so Bisu's not going to be able to run his probe back there. It's going to be a little bit more difficult for him to dodge the Dragoon when it comes out. But anyways, so yeah, in Stork versus Bisu games, neither player really gets an expansion usually, because it's it's so. I mean, every if you get an expansion, that's a few Dragoons that you don't have, and in a game of that caliber, a couple Dragoons can make a huge difference. So he's gonna try and he gets trapped behind there. Bisu's probe finally goes down. He goes behind the minerals to try and get away, and the probes hunt him down like a dog. Except you don't really hunt down dogs, do you? That's kind of a strange phrase. Anyway, again, both players just staying mirror and getting their robo down. And anyway, the point what I was getting to is that I'm expecting this game to be very similar, because BeSt is on par. Those are basically well, I mean, they're all the dragons are all very good Protoss versus Protoss, but BeSt is one of the few people that can go up head to head with Bisu or Stork in a Protoss versus Protoss matchup in a best of, and really have a chance. So probably going to be some very similar play. Very close play. It's probably going to come down to a matter of just a tiny bit of micro or a tiny bit of decision making is going to make all the difference. And I mean, that's one of the great things about Protoss versus Protoss in general, is you can have mirror builds and a dozen Dragoons versus dozen Dragoons, and just a tiny little bit of micro better from one player is going to change the whole game. And BeSt actually going for robotic support bay first. Bisu going for the observatory first. I'm not surprised by that. Bisu, very safe player, and when he plays someone like Stork, that's usually what he does, or Bisu or BeSt, obviously, I guess, is go for the observatory first, because you want to be safe. You don't want to get caught. You want to make sure that you can last into the long game and try and use your skill to accomplish an advantage. BeSt, on the other hand, maybe he even predicted that. Oh, Bisu getting an expansion though. Bisu getting a Nexus down. And he is sending out an observer, so he could theoretically, if he saw something incoming, he could